Hey kids, it's great to see you again. So today I'm going to show you how to swap out a toilet. But first, I have a dad joke for you. Did you hear about the toilet that was stolen from the police station? The cops have nothing to go on. So anyway, I'm just going to walk you through what I did with my toilet recently. What happened was my toilet was leaking, which I was suspicious that it was probably just the wax ring had failed. The seal had come loose. It must have dropped down and wasn't sealing properly. And so that's in fact what happened. So I just removed my existing toilet and put the same toilet right back on with a new wax ring. And I'm just going to walk you through that. It's going to be similar if you're going to swap out a toilet. Should be basically the same steps. You might have to attach the tank to the base of your toilet. So that's a few extra steps that you're not going to see in this video. But anyway, I think this will be helpful just to watch the whole thing through to understand what it takes to swap out a toilet.
So as you can see, there's some water here, so my toilet is leaking. Ugh. So I need to remove the toilet so I can check out where the leak is coming from. So the first thing I need to do is turn off the water.
All right, so this is kind of tight quarters, so I'll do my best to be able to show this to you. So first thing we need to do is shut off the water, right? And then now we're gonna need to remove this toilet, and you need to make sure all the water is drained out. So we turn off the water, and then now we're just gonna flush it to get rid of the water in the tank, okay? Okay, so as you can see, this is a little different than my other toilet. So this is a pretty new toilet. Doesn't have a flapper. It works a little bit different, but we just need to get rid of that water that's in there. Okay, looks like that's about as far as it's going to go. So we'll need to figure out how to get the rest of that water out. On a flapper, you'd be able to get pretty much all of it out. I'll probably just get a cup and start scooping that water out. All right, so I'm just going to use this old yogurt cup, but it looks like it doesn't quite fit down in there. So I'm just going to cut this top off to give me a little scoop. All right, so I got my cup kind of cut off here, and I'm just going to scoop that out, just like this, into my bucket. Just want to get as much water as you can out of there, because you're going to move this toilet. If you don't do this, then that's going to spill all over your floor. Okay, so then this last little bit that you can't really get, you just want to use a sponge. A tile sponge works great for this. I looked like I didn't have one, so I'm using this sponge here. Probably be quicker with a tile sponge because those are absorbent and they're big. But that's how you get the last little bit out. Okay, so that's pretty close. We're all basically down to the very bottom here, just trying to get the last little bit. And you can just get a towel if you want for that last little bit, if you want to make sure that there's absolutely no water. But you know, you're going to have a little bit of water that is going to come out of the line too. So you can prepare for it a little bit. You're going to spill a little bit of water no matter what you do. All right, so you can see I still have water actually in the bowl too, so we want to get that out, right? Because you're going to move this toilet and stuff is just going to spill. Just get ready for it to spill a little bit. You're going to get rid of as much as you can. Okay, same thing with the sponge again. Okay, we just about got all the water out of here now with our sponge technique. And we're going to go dump that water. I'm just going to dump it on my plants. It'll be fine. Because we don't put any chemicals in our toilet, so. And make sure you dump that, because right, you start removing this, you get a little excited, and then you kick over your bucket. That would be horrible. All right, so the tank is empty, and then the bowl is empty of water. Like I said, you might end up with a little bit of water, but you want to get the majority of the water out of there before you disconnect this. I get it, it might be exciting to, okay, I want to change my toilet. And get ahead of yourself. Always do the water first. Turn the water off, and then drain your tank and drain your bowl to take care of that. That's just done. we're still going to have a little bit of water in that line. I'll show you that real quick, and then we can start pulling this thing off, and I'll show you how to do that. So now we just need to disconnect it here. Okay, so I might lose a little bit of water here, so you could have a bucket ready if you can. Okay, yeah, water's leaking out just a little bit though. It's just what's left in this line, right? Just kind of putting it in my bucket like that, right? Okay, so we're good there. All right, so you're gonna have a cap like this on either end. Should be pretty similar on most toilets, but yours might be a little bit different. And then we're gonna, so this one looks like it's just a plastic screw on. So we're gonna remove that. Okay. Set that aside. We're gonna do the same thing on the other side. Okay, we're on the other side. We're gonna pop that off now too. Okay, yours will probably be different than this. This looks like a newer toilet, right? Like I said, I swapped this out probably 3 or 4 years ago. So yours may have a nut on there. This is how this one looks. It just goes down inside there. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and pop off the toilet. Okay, so now there's a wax ring underneath there that's kind of holding it. So that's what, and you'll get to see what that looks like now. So I'm gonna try to pop this off. It's gonna be kind of heavy, so just be ready for that. But we got all the water out to the best of our ability. So we're gonna go ahead and pop this off now. Okay, just gotta kind of get over it, lift up, okay. All right, can you see that? Oh. Okay, now I'm going to show you what that looks like close up here. All right, so you can see where it's been leaking. It's kind of gross. I cleaned it up a little bit so you wouldn't have to look at everything, but you can see that the water's kind of pooling up here. And this is what I was talking about with a wax ring. That's what you're going to have on a toilet. There's different ways. So this looks a little bit funky, but my understanding is there's other ways to do this now. I think they got other cushions instead of wax, but this is kind of what you'd normally see with a toilet. So we're going to replace this regardless, but I'm not seeing where the wax ring has really failed. Maybe it has, maybe over here. Yeah, I think that's probably it. I think the water's it wasn't kind of mushed down. Normally you'd see that these wax rings are pushed down, and it doesn't really look like it really mushed too much. So you can get a thicker wax ring. That's what we're going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this out like that. Kind of gross. Okay, I'm going to clean this up, and I'm going to go get myself a wax ring, and we'll come back and put it back together. So a wax ring, again, this is kind of funky, but a wax ring normally is kind of mushed, and this doesn't look like it really got a nice seal, and you can see some water here. So I'm sure it's the wax ring that is causing the leak. So I'm going to go get that.
Okay, so I cleaned everything up here, as you can see. And then you're going to want to remove these old bolts here that are in there. You can see how they fit in. There's a little flange there, and then there's a bigger side, and then it just slides in to kind of lock in place. So you just need to take that, and you might have to play with it a little bit, and then you just slide it out, and then you're going to end up sliding in the new ones. See, as I remove this, you'll be able to see what that looks like. And the new ones just usually come with the wax ring. You'll get a couple of them in there, and I'll show you those. Okay, so here's the bolts that come with it. You'll see that. And it's got a little plastic washer that just slides down to hold it in place when you're trying to put the toilet on top of it. And they make them super long for a reason. You'll see why, because when you're trying to put the toilet on top of it, you want those things to be long so that you can put the toilet on top and they can poke through. And then we'll end up breaking the top part off to finish it up. That'll make more sense to you as we get to the end of this video. See how much longer the newer bolts are compared to the older ones? That's why. They started out long and then they were just cut off. Okay, now we're going to put the new bolts in, and you see that plastic washer and then the opening there. So it's a wider opening. You just slide it in, and then you just press down with that plastic washer to hold it in place for you. And do the same thing on the other side. You want these bolts pointing straight up because you're going to put the toilet down on top of them. I end up using the wax ring to hold them in place and to make them stand up straight. So I have my toilet set on its side, and the manufacturer will tell you to go ahead and put the wax ring right on here. I haven't had good luck with that. And I also use the wax ring to help hold those bolts straight up. So I'll show you that. This just hasn't worked for me. I don't feel like I get a good seal that way. So this is a single wax ring. You can buy a double wax ring. I just bought extra wax. You can buy wax just by itself, and I'm just going to add it to this one. So I make sure that I get a good seal, and I'm just going to soften that wax with my hand and kind of mush it all together. You'll see that. And I'm just going to add that wax right on the top of that other one. Some people will even just stack 2 wax rings together. You can just buy additional wax. Here's my additional wax. Notice it doesn't have the plastic part. It's just wax. And you can just buy it like that. And then I'm just going to add it to the other one and just form it myself to make it work. So here I am adding that wax to the other one. I'm just mushing them together to make sure that I get a good seal, because when that toilet sits down on top of it, you want to make sure that it's sealed good. So just double check that for yourself. I believe you can buy double waxed rings, but I'm working with what I have. This is what I have, so that's what I'm using. Okay, as you can see, I added a little extra wax. Doesn't look the greatest, but it's okay. I'm just making sure that I get a good seal there. So that's all gonna mush down. It's also allowing me to have those bolts standing straight up for when I go to put the toilet on top of it. You'll see when I go to install it now. Okay, so now we're going to pick up the toilet, and you want to just get over the top of it. It's pretty heavy, so you might need help with this, but we want to make sure that those bolts come up through those holes. So you can see that from the top there as you're looking down. It makes it kind of easy that way, and then the toilet will just mush down the wax ring to get you a nice seal. And once you get those bolts to come through, you want to make sure you didn't move the bolts, because remember how they were held there, that flange? So just double check that. Make sure that they didn't come off the flange, because otherwise when you go to tighten these, they're not going to be holding anything. Okay, so once we've confirmed that those bolts haven't moved and they're actually still in the flange right below, so that they're going to hold it when we tighten these things down. And so I'm going to screw this on, and then I'm going to grab a hold of the bolt itself and kind of pull up to make sure while I spin the nut down. Once we get close, see I'm holding the bolt there, spinning the nut on, then I'll switch over and hold the top and continue spinning it down. I just want to make sure that that's actually holding, right? And once you're done with this side, you're going to do the exact same thing to the other side. So I'm not going to show you that because it's exactly the same thing. Okay, so that's all seated now, and we're ready to do the other side. First, I'm going to show you something. Now that that's tightened, see how those bolts are longer? I've been in bathrooms before where I've seen them just set the cap on the top like that. They make those bolts long so you can actually get the toilet on top of them. If it was short, it'd be much harder to put the toilet on top of those. Okay, so I went ahead and tightened down the other side too, so both sides are tightened down. Now I'm going to go ahead and reconnect the water. But as you're tightening this, just make sure you're aligned properly so that that is tightened securely. Now let's turn the water back on. You can see that it's filling back up. Just pay attention down below. Make sure there's no leaks or anything. We haven't done anything with those bolts, right? We haven't finished the project by cutting those bolts off, because we just want to make sure everything's good before we make that final step. Okay, so the water's filled. I'm just going to go ahead, and you can see this is where my leak was before. I'm going to go ahead and flush the toilet just to make sure no water comes out. You can see here where the water has kind of stained the grout, or it might just be wet. It will probably actually clean up pretty good once it dries out. But no leaks. Everything looks good. We're going to go ahead and finish the job. Okay, so look at this bolt, how it's longer. It actually gives you a little notch there that you're supposed to just break off. You could just use a vice grips or pliers and grab a hold of that and wiggle it off. But you can see my cap isn't going to quite work there. I'm going to have to go a little bit lower. So I'm going to go ahead and use my oscillating tool and cut it off here. So I'm going to clamp with the vice grips so I can hold it. Remember, I don't want those to come off of that flange down below. So I need to hold that tight. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut it off. You could use a hacksaw if you don't have an oscillating tool. An oscillating tool with a metal blade works great for this. If you try to use a hacksaw, it's just tight quarters, so it's a little hard to get it in there, but you can make do. I don't necessarily need to cut all the way through with this. I just need to score it so that I can then bend it and break it off. Okay, so now carefully, I'm just going to snap that top piece off. The oscillating tool vibrated a little bit, loosened that up a little bit, so I'm just securing it again, making sure that's tight, and then clean around it. Then snap the cap on. Then we're going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. After a couple days, the grout has dried out and it looks great.
All right, so as you saw in the video, it was just the wax ring that failed. So I just put my exact toilet right back on and we're good to go now. And as you can see also that the grout that was wet previously had dried out and it's fine now. So we're all good. Anyway, I hope that was helpful for you just to kind of see what it looks like so you know what the task entails. You just got to get all that water out. Make sure you get all the water out because you don't want to just, get excited and lift that thing up and have water everywhere. So you want to get as much of the water out as you can. You're going to have a little bit of water drip, but you want to get, the majority, 99% of it, you'll be able to get rid of first before you actually undertake it. So, all right. So I hope that was helpful for you. Thanks for watching and God bless you.